Hello everyone, my name is Gabriela Casuso. I'm the founder and leader of Proyecto Aquática, change maker and marine educator. Today we'll be talking with Dr. Peter Klimley, also known as Dr. Hammerhead, one of the world leading experts on shark behavior and ecology and ethology. We'll be exploring fascinating topics about sharks, race, marine life, and learning from his decades of experience in these fields. Some people still believe that sharks, like you said, are mindless predators, which they are wrong. From your behavioral research, what do you think evidence most clearly their complex cognition and their social intelligence?
Studies which looked at a brain size, and their brain size is equivalent to fish and many birds. So um, uh, and probably some people, but that's not true. That's a joke right there. But anyway, I've described the hammerheads. They have displays where uh, the uh, females form large schools. The largest females swim in the center, and the males dash into the center, uh, uh, and they rotate their clasper, and they choose females, and they leave the schools, and then they mate. Um, then white sharks. If one kills a seal, it gets to the surface, they swim by each other splashing water, and the one that splashes the most water gets to feed the rest of the seal. And seals, like a half a seal can provide enough metabolic energy for a white shark for almost 3 months. So they there is this competition. Um, uh, Manta rays, and you think of them as in a sense dumb plankton feeding uh, cows of the sea. The reef mantas have 10 different ways of feeding, sometimes in large whirlpool groups, and sometimes stacked up one on top of each other. There's a large diversity of feeding types. So I think if you read this, and then interestingly, there was a shark attack. Uh, a killer whale killed a white shark at the Farallon Islands by ironically lifting it out of the water, so it was asphyxiated. And the white sharks didn't come back. They left the island. Somehow they maybe heard of what went on, heard the sounds of the killer whales, hunting sounds. And then when they would come back, they would stay a very short period of time, maybe as reconnaissance before leaving, and only a few came back. So even the white shark has uh, diversity of behaviors. Um, if you read this book, you can download chapters, my chapters, and again, the hammerheads have this ability to go all the way out into the ocean to feed on at night and come back to the same refuging spot during the day where they form these schools. So there's a lot of behavior in sharks and rays. The same is true with other, even in this book, there's a chapter, and you might have read it, or the abstract, of limpets that are territorial, fight amongst each other. Limpets are small snails. So animals are amazing. Butterflies, they fly along our coasts and go all the way to Mexico. I mean, it's pretty amazing that insects like that have the ability to do things like
I
that.
have a question that I need to ask you right now because I never thought about it until I read the book. How important is the presence of chlorine and sodium ions for species like sharks and rays and like when they use the electrical fields?
Well, so unlike air, uh, the ocean has these ions, um, and and so it conducts electricity. And let's say um, when a fish that's hiding, let's say at night in a crevice, uh, it draws um, salt water, a conductor, through the Earth's field. As it respires, it creates an electric field, and the shark can detect it in the middle of the night. Or the round rays, the females are buried in the sand, and they come along and they detect the female's electrical discharge, and they then mate with them. So the electric sense, and there's an article by Tim Tricus in this book on just this and round rays. It makes the sharks the it contributes to there being very successful predators in the ocean because they can locate prey at nighttime when there isn't light. And the same is true for dolphins that uh, generate a signal, ultrasonic signal, can bounce off something at a distance and know it's there, know how big it is, and so forth. And they can do this at night and do this in day. And so the dolphins and the sharks are really successful predators in the ocean because of the medium. One aspect, the fact that it's salty. The other is that it's more dense and sound travels farther, attenuates less with distance.
Yeah, because I see that the influence is really, really strong. But I'm thinking, for example, the bull shark, because this shark has the ability to be in both types of water, the fresh water and the salt water. How does it change the bull shark ampullate when he travels to fresh water? Because fresh water has low conductivity.
I would think that's a good question. Certainly, the bull shark, one of the challenges is water balance, and so it's adapted to go into water that has fewer ions. So uh, in salt water, they're constantly going to the bathroom, urinating, but in fresh water, they don't do it so much. Um, but in terms of electroreception, it's not going to be able to, well, it's, there still are some ions, not a lot, a lot. So maybe but I would think they're feeding primarily by vision and sound,
Mm.
particle displacements.
Something that I see that you have like a lot of information is about biotelemetry, but I don't know really, really well about this concept. Can you please explain what does it mean biotelemetry?
Well, bio means animals, tele means sending, metry means measurements. So it's sending measurements from animals. And so uh, the transmitter that I built would send out a signal, and the intervals, and it had a certain set interval, which so this is number one, and then there would be seven other pulses, and each pulse varied in length, interval varied in length. And we calibrate these various sensors so that they um, the interval, um, pulse interval, varies with if it's hot, the interval's short. If it's cold, it's long. And so, and there's a linear equation that relates um, temperature or depth or to pulse interval. And now there are data loggers that actually uh, don't actually transmit um, information. They just acquire it for the sensors, and they you have to get those back. Now, one of the advantages of when I did my study is that I could was tracking the animal. In one case, I tracked the animal. We had a boat that was dropping a transmitter that transmitted the temperature of the water at different depths, um, the water direction of flow, and so forth. So I could not only measure, determine the animal's behavior through biotelemetry, but also the environment surrounding the or close to where the shark was swimming. We dropped the sensor periodically along the track. So that's, and I founded a journal, the Journal of Biotelemetry, um, which is no longer my editor-in-chief, but it's very, very successful. Um, but they publish not only telemetric studies where it's transmitting information, but also these data information on the data loggers.
This is the last question, and I'm going to set you free. What would you like a person to feel or think when they encounter either a shark, a ray, a sea animal for the first time after seeing this conversation?
If they catch one,
No, if they see one, like
oh,
diving.
see, sure. Well, enjoy it. And you don't want to approach if it's a shark, you don't want to approach it and if it's near a background like a rocky shoreline, which is and it's close to shore, and like James was approaching this Galapagos shark, and it was frightened, so and when you see it swimming back and forth and moving its jaws up and down, you got to be smart, and that is you got to back off. You don't go any closer. But photographers they want to get a good photograph, and so they would get closer, and so many of the attacks that led to people describing this behavior were due to photographers trying to get too close to the sharks to get their photograph. So observe them. Hammerhead schools are wonderful to observe. You can when if you try to observe them from scuba diving, it's generally at a distance. But if you free dive, you can get right up close to them. But and not in certain places and not in other places. Um, and so it's they're there are beautiful animals, and I once wrote something never was published on becoming a shark. What it's like, to suddenly have a tail that made you move quickly and not having to hold your breath and so forth. Um, and then that somebody killed a lot of sharks, and then the sharks came back with the whales, and the whales alerted the other sharks. Like a whole story about that years ago. I wrote. No, never nobody was interested in publishing it, but anyway, so hopefully, and so you're buddies with Mauricio. Get him to help your group. He's a good guy. Um, and and so what is your deal? Do you make a living at this?
Okay. Do I make what?
A living at this?
I want to, yes, I want to become a marine biologist. I want to study sharks Well, especially I want to study sharks, but I want to specialize in ethology.
Oh, getting in the water with them.
Yeah.
Well, Mauricio and James, they have a group, Pelagius Cacuña, and they have a lot of Latin American students. And Sandra Basuto, she she has one fellow that works with her very closely. But if I were, I would get in touch with her. By the way, she's a very powerful character, I tell you. She's one of the strongest women I ever met. Uh, but she loves sharks, and she's written a wonderful book about Malpelo, and and she's now the director of Miramar. So she's done well, and uh, and if you do get in touch with you tell her that I told you to get in touch with her and see if you can get an apprenticeship with her. Go on one of her cruises, and maybe she'll be willing to do it just out of I don't know how much what we call suck I have. I don't know with her how much influence I have. But anyway, good to talk with you and conquer the world. And again, I think Pelagios Cacuña is a good opportunity for getting, and they get degrees at CCMAR with uh, another student of mine, Galvan, Felipe Galvan, is a professor there. And so they have students that get the degree. They have either volunteers, but usually I had a volunteer, he started with salmon. He started as a volunteer, then he became a technician for me, and then he became a graduate student, got his degree, PhD, and now he's working for Fish and Game. So, going in there and saying I work as uh, a volunteer gets you in there, gets you to meet him, and then you can, if you do well, uh, and and um, and you while you're there, you develop some kind of project that you're involved in, and then you can make that into a degree. Okay,
Yeah,
I love your necklace.
Thanks.
Nice to meet you.
Really
Conquer the world for me.
I'm going to do it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us in this conversation. Today, we've gone beyond the hatred, the fear, and even confusion, and look at the truth behind why people dedicate their lives to studying species like sharks. Because they are going to make us realize that these incredible creatures are not villains, but guardians of the ocean's balance. Without them, the health of our seas and ultimately life on this planet, including our own, will be at risk. Because science teaches us to understand them. Conservation calls on us to protect them. But it's society that decides whether the future of the ocean will be one of destruction or hope. Because today, we're facing a triple crisis of awareness, misinformation, lack of interest, and ignorance. And each story, each encounter, and each moment of curiosity can challenge that crisis. Each decision we make and every choice to learn rather than assume matters. Sharks and rays are teaching us if we take the time to listen. They show us resilience, intelligence, and the intricate connections that sustain marine life. It's up to us to answer with respect, understanding, and action. So, thank you, Peter, for your courage, for your decades of research, and your commitment to showing the world the real life of these amazing animals. And thank you to everyone watching for learning, for questioning, and for being part of the change our ocean desperately needs. Let's keep listening to science. Let's keep protecting sharks and rays. Let's keep protecting life itself. And see you next time.